The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the BeAuSm podcast. This is the Spartan follow-up episode. We might have one or two of these, but we just had if you listen to the previous episode, Mark Resnick and I got caught up on the book and we were talking about the Spartan Race and how we haven't had an episode. We actually haven't been in the studio since September. It's crazy. So Adam was the guinea pig for today because he's in here doing all my programming and all the awesome work that he does. And I looked and said, hey, Adam, you're going to be on the podcast today. So Adam Carreiro, program manager extraordinaire at ECAT Studios, but also Spartan runner. You did the race with me Saturday, November 9th.
Yep.
And not only did you run it, you ran it with cameras all over you so we could get the full experience of the day. So first and foremost, thank you for doing that. That is... if you've been on the YouTube channel, we've got a couple of videos on there, and all the videos leading up to it, Adam created, in essence, to keep me moving, to get more people to do the run with us. I think we had 9 total runners that came on with us that morning, and to bring awareness to Holidays for the Heroes, to get some money raised to help get our active military home for the holidays or for amazing events. Like there was during this build-up, there was a soldier from Estonia that got to fly home to see the birth of their first child, which I think is pretty darn cool. So welcome, thank you, and let's get into it. So was this your first Spartan race?
Yeah, so this is my first Spartan race.
Okay,
yeah.
But you've
run like some 5Ks and 10Ks, so
yeah.
More just running.
Yeah.
This is like the first obstacle course.
Yeah.
Type of race.
It was kind of surreal. Like let's talk through the morning. Like we got there. We were supposed to run at 6:30. Is that what time we were starting?
Yeah.
Because I think the first heat started at 7. We were there for 6:30, and you got there at like 5, right? You were there first.
Yeah, like around 5. Because I thought you said 6, so I'm like, all right, I'll get there at 5:30.
Well, so the notes and everything said get there 90 minutes before you run. So 5, I think, was the time that we were supposed to get there. I had new Nick come from North Carolina. Nick Grubb, for those of you that don't know Nick, I think I've talked about him maybe in 1 or 2 episodes, but he's a young man. He's been with me at the software company that I'm at Operations Hero. We were working together. He's a young sales guy. He was a semi-pro bodybuilder, I think. He does hot yoga. He's in incredible shape. Avid hiker, adventurous, runner, all this stuff. He flew up from North Carolina to be part of the race, which was awesome. So I picked him up Friday night at the airport, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just stay in a hotel. That way I don't wake up my family, and just we'll head into Boston. We stayed in Dedham Friday night, went to bed early. I was up at like 4. And I woke up and I was going to get in the shower and somebody ding dong ditched me in the hotel room. And I'm like, what are the chances of that happening? Like they were just going down and knocking on all the doors. They had probably a little bit too much to drink the night before and knocked on all the doors in the hallway, but I was already up, so I was ready to go. But we drove into Boston, picked up Ed Rossich, the founder of Holidays to the Heroes, picked him up at the Hilton in Back Bay, grabbed a coffee. I'm like, it's like just a walk in the park, just kind of walking around. I'm like, hey, let's get a Dunkin' Donuts coffee and hang out. And we got to Fenway, and it was like pitch black.
Yep, sun out.
There was nothing going on. Like, it was like, and it was it was probably, we were less than 90 minutes from when we were supposed to run. The registration desks weren't even open. People were starting to show up, but nothing was lit up at the stadium. Nothing was. Nope. It was dark. We all get together. We go to stand in the registration line with all these other runners. And Joe DeSena, the founder of Spartan, who challenged us to do this race, is walking by. And I'm like, hey, Joe. And he looks at me. I'm like, we're running the race with you. He's like, come on, get all your people together. And just like herded us all together. We never registered. We never got our headbands. We never got our monitors. We never got anything. We're in Fenway Park with Joe DeSena, some of his friends and family. And the park is, I mean, that was just amazing. Like, there was nobody there. It was just us. It was silent. There was no music playing. It was just us in the stadium getting ready to run. And I don't know about you. I was just taken away. I was like, this isn't real. Like, it just didn't seem real. They had lamps on the grass. Yeah, that was the thing that I caught out, was like they were growing the grass with artificial light, but it was still like dark out. It was just getting to be daylight.
Yeah, the sun just started coming up, and I think a lot of us too were just like, "Are we still good to go?" Like, we didn't know if we're all set to start running.
Yeah,
but like, even besides us, like Joe had his own group with him too, like so there was like 30 of us all together with like what he had in our crew, but no one else had bibs or anything. So I'm like, all right, I think we're okay, but no one else had it.
Yeah.
So I think, all right, we're good. And even when we walked up to like the stairs of start line, like he wasn't like, all right, guys, this is the start line, we're gonna go up.
Right.
It was just like the hype guy just started talking, getting us ready.
Yeah.
And we're still like this in the front taking pictures and getting ready to run.
Oh yeah, it was one of those what's going on moments.
Yeah.
And then we were just off. Then it was like, just now we're gonna go. And it was crazy because you sent me videos of past Spartan races in the Fenway Park with the obstacles that people did, and like I looked at it and it was intimidating, right? It wasn't, you didn't crawl under barbed wire like you do in the outdoor woods ones and everything else, but it was a lot. And no video or anything could prepare you for what this race does. Like, you literally, I think you go up and down every step in the stadium, I feel like. Like, when we were done and we were sitting down at the finish line, we were watching all the runners just going around. And I was like, I don't remember being in that part. And then someone was like, oh, that was where, the sandbag was, or that's where the medicine ball was. Like, I didn't know which way was up most of the time when I was doing it. Like, I didn't know where I was in the stadium. And I'm still glad that one of the obstacles wasn't ready for us, because I think that would have probably killed me. The water containers or whatever they were.
Oh,
we were supposed to go up the stairs and down the stairs. But yeah, we started at the ground floor.
Yep.
On, I guess, the right field side.
Yeah, was that?
I think it was right.
It might have been behind Pesky's pole, like kind of that area.
Yep.
If you're in the ballpark, it's like kind of that corner of the field.
Yeah. And so I wanted to be in the back of the pack. I knew I was going to be in the back of the pack of this crew because, first of all, the people that Joe brought, and I think they were his kids too.
Yeah.
They were in it to win it. Like, they were, while they didn't have bibs and they weren't getting measured and all that, they were definitely going for their own gold.
Yeah.
I was just going to finish. My race from on July 31st, when we recorded the podcast with Joe on the hard way, to November 9th, I dropped almost 40 pounds. I think I don't think I was probably walking a 20-minute mile. I didn't even measure it at first, but I know that I was in awful shape. I'm in better shape, but I'm still not where I want to or need to be. But to go from that to 2 days before, I did a 5K in 44 minutes, I think, or something like that. And it was a combination of running and walking. I thought it was a great improvement, but I definitely knew that I was not going to most likely make all the obstacles, or my upper body strength is not even remotely. I thought, losing 40 or 50 pounds, I could easily do the monkey bars or the rings or the rope, or no, it's just, that's just not there. But yeah, we go up every flight of stairs to the top of, I guess it was right field, right?
Yeah, the bleachers.
Yeah, the bleachers. And so
and not only, like, if you say, like, oh, yeah, we ran the bleachers, I've told people what we did, and they thought we just went up and down every step.
Yeah,
and
no.
that wasn't even the core. Like, you almost did, like, a Tetris. So we did go up the stairs, but, like, in between that, we were back and forth in between the seats, too.
Yeah.
So we were doing, like, Tetris bleachers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't straight up and down. It was up, left, turn right, and because we were by ourselves in the group, it was a small group, we didn't have a lot of people in front of us, so we had to like run and see the caution the Spartan caution tape, and know where to turn to go up, down, how many rows to go down before taking a right to go up the stairs, back down the stairs.
We were the test group too. We were making sure that all worked. But yeah, we got to the top of the stairs and I was like, wow, that's tiring. There's a lot of stairs, right? And I get up there, and we're immediately welcomed with commando crawl or bear crawl under the ropes. That was the first obstacle, and it was cold. I mean, it was in the 30s, and here we are. We're crawling on this cold metal ground under this 100 yards of cord or whatever it was, and I was feeling good. I was like, this is pretty good. I can handle this, and I come up and I was like, this is actually more exhausting than it seems like. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard, but everything seemed like it was hard. Like every obstacle was hard. The way that they, like you say, way they had stuff mapped out, like you thought. Like the highlight for me that I felt like I did, the couple of things that were my highlights, and then we'll get your highlights, but carrying the sandbag. You carry a 60-pound sandbag. I don't know how far we had to walk with that thing. It was a lot. It was up a lot of stairs, across a lot of things. The fact that I did that felt pretty darn good. The push-ups with Joe. Like we had to do 15. I'm pretty sure we did 33 of them. Like he was just down, but just trying to, doing the best that I could to keep up with him. That was a highlight. And then I think the other piece to it that was the highlight for me was my breaking point, which was at the top of the ramps with the weighted vest that you had to go under the cord on all the ramps, and you had to go down. And I remember I was just looking out off the railing. Behind me was all of the paramedics' stretchers lined up for people that was probably like Heartbreak Hill for the race, because it was it was over halfway through, but it was hard. He had these cables that were 2 feet apart, max, that were just a couple feet off the ground. He had probably a 30 or 40 pound weighted vest, and you had to wear that, and you had to go under each of these cables, up every ramp, back and forth to the top of the stadium, and then back down. And I just remember I got up there before Bobby did. Bobby Chavez was with me on the race with you the whole time. That was the one section that you got ahead of us. Like you weren't even like winded. You were just like, yeah, I'm good. And you just kept going. But that was one section, but you stayed pretty close with us. That was the one obstacle that you just kind of, you just
to get her over.
Yeah. You were like hanging down, having a drink, waiting. Yeah. And, but I was at the top, Bobby got up, and I'm like, we could just quit now. Like we could, like, Nobody would know the difference. Like we don't have, and that was when the elite runners started coming. Yep. And there was a guy, we're literally at the top. I was giving up, and there was a guy that came up. Now these elite runners, like they get rewards and awards and everything else and recognition, so they play for keeps. This guy didn't have an ounce of body fat. He had the metal plate vest on, no shirt, and shorts. And he got to the top, and when he got to the top, he put himself in a ball, and he rolled down the ramps. And you just hear clunk, 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 and it was the metal plates of the vest hitting, and he was just rolling. And I was like, this guy's insane. Like, he's literally smashing off he's wheelbarrow rolling himself down the ramps, like, really fast. Impressed that the whole, like, it doesn't say how you go under the ropes. It just says you go under the ropes. And that was creative. And I was just looking at him, I'm like, there's no way in hell, even if I was in good shape, that I would do that. That just bears the reason that just doesn't seem smart. But Bobby and I were just kind of sitting there for a minute, and I'm like, yeah, we could quit. And then all of a sudden I hear, I don't even remember what it was said, but it was Joe DeSena's voice coming up the ramp. And, it was We Do Hard Things. He's just going, we do hard things. And I'm like, oh crap, how did he get behind us? Because he was ahead of us at one point. And then we passed him because he was doing some content. And then all of a sudden, he's now behind us, coming up the ramp, yelling, we do hard things. And I'm like, dude, we can't quit now. Like, the only way we can get out of here is if we take the vest off and go back down the ramp, because everything else was closed off. Yeah. Like, we just can't quit now. We got to keep going. So there we go. We start going down. He passes us on the way up. So we're going down. He's passing us on the way up. I'm like, hey, Joe. And it just kept going. And I was like, just get to the bottom before he catches up to us. Just get to the bottom. And we could hear him. Like, he was just yelling at everybody. And I was like, you got this, Bobby? Because every time I would say that to Bobby, that bought me 10 seconds. Like, every time he said, I'm okay, that was 10 seconds. Like, I did it like every 10 seconds. Every 10 or 20 seconds, it was, Bobby, you good? And he'd say, I'm good. And I'd be like, all right, we got another 10 or 20 seconds until the next time, and we can get under a couple of ropes. And so all of a sudden, we're probably 2 or 3 ramps from getting to the bottom. And I'm like, you good, Bobby? And all I hear is, Bobby's good. And I'm like, oh, shoot, he's right behind us now. And he was. And I'm like, just please pass us. Just please pass us. And he didn't. He sat there and he encouraged us like the whole rest of the way down. He's like, you got this. And then he tells Bobby, to look, to go under the rope, looking at the railing and not at the wall, and like all this stuff. And it was just so cool, because here's this guy that's got probably, I mean, I don't know. I was doing the math because I do math. I mean, that company probably does $100 or more million in business a year. More importantly, transforms countless lives. Yeah. Like, makes a difference in improving people's lives, more healthy, mentally, physically, everything. And here's the guy that started it all. Could be doing this race with anybody that he wants. And he's choosing to walk it with Bobby and I going down the ropes. And then we got to the bottom, and he stayed with us for the next 15, 20 minutes, did a couple of obstacles together. That was
just walking.
That was just like the highlight of my, that was like the highlight of my event. Was like, now, and what was amazing was the difference in the mindset from encouragement, where I was at like my breaking point of like, you know what? I got here this morning. I did more than half the race. I got to this point where I feel like I quite honestly don't want to go on. I could, but I didn't want to. And then all of a sudden, this unintentional encouragement of we do hard things, echoing up the ramps, got me to continue. And we got to the bottom ramps. I'm like, I can do this. If it means walking the rest of the way, crawling the rest of the way, I can do this, and I'm going to do it. And it was pretty wild. It was a pretty cool experience. So those were my highlights. So what was your highlights from the director's view and your experience, and the whole day? I mean, the whole day was just amazing.
Yeah, just everything that, even like leading up, like going through it and leading up with it, it was still one of those things you kind of didn't know what was going to happen. But there was moments that you like, even like when we stopped a couple times at certain parts of the park and just saw the park, it's like, wow, look at this kind of angle. Or just like, all right, we keep on going because we got this to keep on doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ramp, that was probably the worst. Because he was like, oh yeah, just go up to the top and come back. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And once we got to the first bend and realized, I'm like, oh no, we got to go all the way up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh man. And like, and all I thought I was like, just gave like PSTD when I was working at Gillette and having to walk up the ramps, never mind doing it. And like the first couple of things, like I had to like try to figure out, I'm like, oh, maybe I can do it this way. And like I didn't see the guy rolling. Yeah. But I don't know how he could do that because for some reason that concrete, it's like, it wasn't smooth. It's grip to it. So people who, when it rains or walk on
you're not slipping and falling.
Yeah, you're not slipping and falling. So I put my hands and knees at first walking. I was like, I can't do this whole thing crawling. I was like, I got to bend down and do it. And then like once the elite runners caught up to us, they were using their arms to like push it up over them.
Oh yeah.
And like after doing it, like it would fling back. And I'm like, it would fling back, get stuck on me. Because even bending down, like I wasn't bending down low enough. So the back of it was getting stuck on the vest. Yeah. So I would like bend down, go forward, and I would like almost shoot back. Yeah. Because the bungee cord rope would like pull you back because that thing's stretched enough.
Yeah. The elite runners really humble you. Yeah. And they clothesline you with that was when they were violent with the cords. I mean, they would just whack it. And it's like a bungee cord. Yeah. But it's tight, and they would smack it, and you'd go to go under, and the cord would drop down another 6 inches because the person's and you'd get caught. Yeah. That happened to me a bunch of times. I was hoping they'd all wheelbarrow roll because that guy didn't touch a single one.
What? Yeah. But the one course I was like kind of like glad I could do it was the 8-foot wall jump.
You did that?
Yeah. So I was able to get like.
Oh, that's right. You did do it. Yeah. That's right. That was the first place that I did the burpees. That's right. I was gasping for air, I think, when you did that. And because the guy's like, you can do it. And I was like, no, I can't.
Well, he looked at me. He was like, oh, you got a GoPro on. You have to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
We got to get that video. We'll did that video come out good?
Somewhat decent.
Yeah. Oh, you got to get a clip of that. That is a highlight reel for sure. I forgot about that. Yeah. So there was one of the obstacles was there was a 7 or 8 foot just sheer plywood wall, and you had to run up to it, jump up because you're not tall enough. None of us were.
Not only that, we weren't like if you were going with a race with a normal race, there'd be people trying to do it, so people could help you go up. But we were by ourselves. So
the guy said we couldn't help. He's like, no, you can't help.
Oh, he did. Oh, I heard you couldn't use the support.
Yeah, you can't use the support
things on the side. I heard that, but I didn't realize you couldn't. People. Could
because I said to Bobby because I knew Bobby wasn't going to do it. Yeah. And he had already checked out. He's like, I'm not doing that one. And I said, Bobby, give me 10 fingers. And before even Bobby could even acknowledge that I had said it. I don't know that he even heard me saying it, but I was like, hey, give me 10 fingers. The guy's like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, what? And I was like, and you're right. I've seen, Spartan races and Tough Mudders, the ones in the woods and stuff, and people are helping one another get up and down. Yeah. But yeah, no, there was no helping that one. And I ran up to it, and I hope you've got video of me running up to that thing.
I think I do.
Oh my God, that's a laughable moment because I'm running up to it. I'm like in my head, like I got this. I can do this. All I have to do is put my hands up on the top, pull myself up, and throw myself over the other side. And I don't even know that I touched the top of the wall. But I was like, I put my hands up. I give up. And that's where the introduction of the burpee happened. Oh. He's like, yeah, if you can't do it, you got to do 15 burpees or whatever it was, 10 or 15 burpees, 10. No, it was 15.
Yeah, I think it was 15.
Yeah, it was 15. And there was 10 burpees with that pole at the end, the weighted thing. Yes. That was awful. But yeah, so I did the burpees on that one. Yeah, that you should be proud of that. That was amazing. And that is something that, like you say, I bet the others after us had people that were willing to help and do all that stuff. I saw the elite runners because we were up at the top. I saw some of the elite runners come down. It was like they just launched themselves over it. Yeah. Yeah, it was none of that. I was like a fish out of water, just trying to survive. But yeah, that was a big one. It's funny, you forget things. Like you forget, like you talk through it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that happened. Like the dude that rolled down. There was another person that rolled, but they rolled down the net wall.
See, yeah, I missed that one.
Oh my God! So the end of this race, the tail end of the race. So it was 25 obstacles, 20 or 25 obstacles. So you run a 5K. You end up doing like almost 4 miles, but it's a 5K combined with a number of obstacles, 20 to 25 obstacles, and the obstacles up until the end were pretty well spread out. Like you go, pretty good distance, do an obstacle, run another distance. But the tail end of the event, you get out onto the field on the third baseline from the visitors' dugout. You come out the tunnel. You do push-ups. You go down the tunnel. You do push-ups in the locker room. So you go into the players' locker room. You do push-ups, and then you go out it was the visitors' tunnel.
Visitors' dugout.
You go out the visitors' dugout, and you start walking the field, and you get around. You got to do box jumps. Then there's a rope, 30-foot rope to climb, which I didn't do that. Opted for the burpees. Then you go up a net wall, a mesh net wall like you'd see at the carnival, but it was 30 or 40 feet tall, and you got to the top, and then you had to go down the other side. And this guy got to the top, and he literally rolled down. I have no idea. He would do somersaults, and he'd grab the net on his rotation to slow him down, because otherwise it doesn't matter. It looked impossible. I'm never gonna try it. Then there were 3 4-foot or 5-foot walls that you had to climb over, and then there was you have a 55-pound pipe basically that you have to do 10 burpees with, which was arguably, not just because it was the end and I was running out of steam, it was arguably the hardest thing I had to do. Like that was just awful.
I think it was more of a mind thing, because you look at it and it looks like a foam roller. So you grab it and in your head it's like foam roller.
Yeah.
Lift it up, but no, it's like 55 pounds.
Yeah.
And you gotta lift it up
over your head and then get down and you
gotta
do a burpee and had to do 10 of them.
Yeah.
And then you run through the whatever gauntlet there, and then you're at the finish line. But there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25%, 20 to 25% of all the obstacles were done in the last couple hundred yards on the field.
Yeah, and they were full body ones because they had obstacles outside, like 3 of them back to back. It was the spear throw, the rope pull, and the monkey rings. Yeah. But like the spear throw, you're just throwing it, and the rope, you're just pulling it with your hands. It's not like full body. Why at the ending, like you're using your whole body to do every single obstacle.
I actually think I owe 10 burpees on the spear throw, because I was laughing when I got there. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. And Bobby threw his and he hit the target, and I grabbed mine and I just chucked it. And I was just like, whatever. And I pulled it back and I threw it seriously a second time and I hit the target. And I went off. But what I didn't know until after the event, actually didn't know until like a couple days ago when I was telling the story, the way that the rules work for that. And again, we were the first ones there, so we didn't know this stuff. The way rules work is if you don't hit the target on the first throw, you have to do burpees.
Oh,
you just move on.
Yeah, so I owe it. Because the first time I didn't really aim right. I threw it. I was like, all right, I got to aim it higher. I threw it a second time. Yeah. Didn't realize I was stepping on the rope. So this sphere goes flying and dead in the middle. Yeah. It just drops because my foot's on the rope. That you're supposed to like pull it back. Yeah. And then I hit it the third time. And I'm like, all right, I got it. And then I went.
Did I tell you that I disqualified Mike and New Nick?
No.
Yeah, I disqualified him. So Mike Amador, who ran it with us, he is like he's run like 20 of these things, and he's always topping his age group and all that stuff, and he's in his 30s. And New Nick was determined to beat him. Like I set it all up. I was like, you can't lose. This is family. And New Nick, yeah, I'm going to be listening to this in the holidays about how he beat the guy that came up from North Carolina and all this stuff. And New Nick was winning all the way to the rope. He had to do burpees because he couldn't climb the rope, and that's where Mike passed him. And I saw Mike coming to the finish line, and I took a video. And I was like, congratulations. And that was that home stretch. But then you gave me the video. New Nick wore a GoPro. So I watched his video. And I watched him go through the whole finishing act. They didn't have the 55-pound bars obstacle set up. So neither of them did it. Meanwhile, they videotaped me and how bad I did it.
Oh, the burpee.
So the 55-pound burpee. So I've notified New Nick, and I'll let Mike know at Christmas that both of their scores are disqualified, and they
didn't do that obstacle.
They did it in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was like we were an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that obstacle, so I told them they didn't complete it. And they owe 5,000 burpees. Thanks for listening to another episode of the BeAuSm podcast. If you are enjoying our episodes, please give us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts. Those ratings and reviews do make a difference in helping us get more exposure, more listeners, as well as giving people an insight and understanding as to what they could expect when they listen to our episodes. Thanks again, and you are awesome. The way they set that whole thing up is amazing. Like when you look at
where they go.
Oh yeah.
How they strategize, like how you're running through, because we went through areas that normally like fully open, and they designed it to make you still go like whatever patio bar that we went through, like they set it up and like repositioned some of the furniture that we had to like crisscross going through the whole patio bar before leaving it.
You got to think about how like the people that design, like like they're in Abu Dhabi this weekend.
Yep.
Like that they do these races all around the world. But I'd love to talk to the people that design it, because they like that one I can't imagine changes. It's changed. It changes, but doesn't, like there's still certain obstacles that are the same. Like the finish line stuff is typically the same, but the tonal rope pulls with the tonal exercise machine, that was new. There were a couple other new, like when I compare like last year or years prior, there's a couple of different ones. Someone was saying about how great it was to be outside the park, because I guess before when we did those 3, the spear, the bag pull, and the monkey bars, we were outside the stadium, and then we ran along the outside of the stadium, and then went back in where the water cans were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which they were like 2 60-pound water jugs that you carried up and down a flight of stairs, which that just would have been awful. But just like to design this whole thing and make it all work and measure it out, like I'm sure it was more than my watch said that we went 4.2 miles from when we started to when we were done, and I probably overstepped or did something stupid. But like just to design all of that and make it all so that the parts of your butt, like it was in theory, like when I look back at it, I'm like, they figured out how to like work your body to like the optimal way to really make this suck.
Yeah.
Right. Like they put things out just so much. They put the last 25% of the obstacles in the last 200 yards or whatever it was, to challenge you, to put you through. Like you've gone through this whole thing. You've gone through 75% of the obstacles and 95% of the running. And now you've got all these obstacles in front of you that you got to exert an immense amount of effort, because let's face it, I walked most of the 5K. Like there was not, once I started doing some of the obstacles, I'm like, I'm going to reserve my energy for the obstacles and I'm just going to walk. And then you just put 4 or 5 obstacles, one after the other.
Yeah.
Now you have to push yourself. Right.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting how they put all that stuff into perspective. So, so you ran your first one. You going to run another one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's some. I think it's more like depending on the race. Like Fenway, yes, because now I follow Spartan, so I see some of the races that they do now.
Yeah,
and I don't know where they were must be still somewhere northeast, but they, instead of jumping over the wall, they had the wall in the water, and you had to like submerge yourself under the water to come out and get out of the moat. I was like, ooh, running wet the whole time too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely like the environment where the race will be. Yeah.
So so since the race, so we've already committed to Fenway next year. That's like just a given. That's just going to be a yearly occurrence. I don't know that the experience we had with Joe as far as the race went will probably never be replicated unless he invites us to do the friends and family again.
Yeah.
Because it was like when we were done, like when we got there was nobody. The stadium was ours, the bathrooms were ours, everything was ours, right? The vendors were just getting set up. When we were done, I mean, there were thousands of people. Like it was just, I mean, it was amazing how quickly that changed and filled in.
Oh yeah.
Like the 90 minutes before your heat, that was a real deal because there was just like there was a corral of people, and they were just every few seconds they were sending up another flight of people. But I think we have to do it again next year just because it's cool, and we can raise money again and make it a yearly fun thing. But after the race, I put a post on LinkedIn about the Joe walking with us and how cool it was, and I sent him a thank you and how great it was to get some time with him and what a great leader he is and all that. And so then he told me that we have to go up to Vermont for his farm experience, Spartan Race, in June or July next year. So that's on the tentative books. And a guy I used to work with, Brian Ondrako, which this was crazy because I was trying to figure out how Joe DeSena even heard of me. For those of you that didn't hear any of this upcoming stuff, I should probably step back. And in 2020, I was dealing with some stuff, and I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast randomly, and this guy Joe DeSena is on the podcast, and he's talking about I had to cancel. I had 39 keynotes I canceled in 2020 because of COVID, and so there was a financial impact that I was not prepared for. With BeAuSm just starting 2 years prior, and it was challenged. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to continue the company. Because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And so this guy's on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about how 375 of his events had to get canceled. And then he talks about how he's got a farm and he's got goats and cows and all this stuff, and he has chickens shipped to the U.S. Postal Service. And I'm like, this guy's he's my cup of water, because I thought I was the only other person that had chickens mailed to the Postal Service. I was like, I didn't meet this guy someday. And I just left it at that. Didn't know what he did. Didn't know what types of events were canceled. I just knew the name Joe DeSena. And so on May 4th this year, I get a random email from his program manager for his podcast, The Hard Way, that says, Joe DeSena wants you on his podcast. And so long story short, we ended up on this podcast in July. He invites us to do a race. We commit to it. We commit to raising money for Holidays for the Heroes. It was Veterans Day weekend, so we're going to honor our veterans and support our active military at the same time. So he said, you run in the 6:30 a.m. heat on Saturday with me. And so that's how we got there. And then after the fact, we've now, contacted one another a couple times. But in the time between being on the podcast and this, Joe DeSena was a guest on the Just Get Started podcast with Brian Ondrako. Brian Ondrako is who got me to start my podcast. His Just Get Started mindset model. He helped me. He was so valuable to me getting to where I am today with the podcast, because he would just say, just get started, just go do something, just get going. And he had Joe DeSena on his podcast, and Joe gave him, hey, you and your friends and family run a race. So he did a 10K in April. And so Brian was following along, and at the end of this whole thing and this post that I put, Brian said, let's do this in April in North Carolina. We'll raise money for Holidays of the Heroes. So there's a second Holidays of the Heroes group doing North Carolina in April. I've tentatively committed to that. They got a 5K too, so I'm not sure if my schedule's going to allow it, but there's possibly 2 more. So we'll keep you posted and get you on the books for the full Spartan tour. But I have to say, it's kind of an addictive thing, right? Because you're pushing yourself to do things that you don't normally do.
Yeah.
And you find things that you're like, wow, I did that. That's amazing. Like, I'm old, so like to do just about anything's like, it's kind of impressive. But to do some of these things, it's pretty cool. Like you feel accomplished, right? So I don't know, but yeah, Fenway Park is definitely in the mix. I'll keep you posted on. I don't know what a Spartan farm experience is, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, so my brother's done the sprint and another Spartan, and I was telling him about it. I told him like, oh yeah, so Joe invited you to go up to his farm. My brother's like, his farm is where he started it. I'm like, I know, and that's what really makes me nervous. What this race is. And I'm like, oh, it's in June, and then he was looking at the schedule. He goes like, no, it's in this month. I was like, no, I'm pretty set June, and he showed me the Spartan schedule, and Vermont is a totally different month. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about then. So my brother's like, ooh, let's see if they have anything on their website. If it's not on the Spartan regular schedule, this is something totally different, because the regular schedule is what these elites follow to do their races. Yeah. So we looked it up, and sure enough, that week in June, he has like 6 things going on in his farm that's not even part of the Spartan thing. So I'm like, I don't know which one we're doing, but it's definitely like, it's not like 6 intense things. It's definitely like a couple events that's like not friends and family, but like something to go out and challenge yourself. Yeah. And then he has a couple events of like Navy SEALs, elite training things too. So I'm like, pretty sure he's not inviting us to the Navy SEALs, but I don't know. But it's like a whole like camp that he's doing that like you just find out more information on his website. That's not part of this whole Spartan Race course setup that he has.
Well, it's, it became a chapter. It's actually most likely going to be the last chapter of BeAuSm. I should have the chapter list right here. I think it's the last chapter. I think we're going to have it as either the last chapter or the second to last chapter is going to be the Spartan experience. And so Joe had copied one of his team members on the email, and the team member came back. He's like, yeah, Spartan experience in Vermont will be good for the soul and good for the book. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what this is all about. But yeah, funny thing is, you get into it, you don't know what you're asking for, and you're definitely not asking. You don't ask for this. You're not like, oh, please. It's like, what's the Animal House movie? You go, please, sir, can I have another when they're whacking them with the paddle? Like, you're not asking to get whacked with the paddle with this. You just, I don't know. You get these challenges put in front of you, and you just say, all right, I gotta figure out how to do it. It sucks. Let's get this thing moving on. But it's been pretty wild from when you think about July, seeing me with just coming back from Alaska, getting the Santa Claus outfit and being massive, like the biggest I've ever been and most out of shape I've ever been in my life, probably, to now, wanting to do better and be better and physically, and I think it helps mentally. It's a big shift. So let's move along in the right direction. Other than I was in the emergency room the day after the race. I think I was all hopped up on adrenaline that I couldn't feel anything painful. But the next day, the bends and bruises and everything else, I had some tendon damage in my knee, and so that in turn ended up with cortisone shot and a fear of getting active again, and crazy appetites. I've put some of the weight back on, and Thanksgiving, and I haven't been able to do much active wise, but I got to get back to it. But it's funny, the body doesn't recover as quick as it did when I was in my teens.
Oh yeah, no. Like it took me like at least 2 days to not feel some type of pain just going up and down stairs.
Yeah, well, that's what my doctor, Dr. Ian, who he ran the race too. He was in a later flight in the day. I went and saw him last week as a follow up, and that's what he said. He said your body just probably took such a toll from all the stairs, and you don't think about it.
Yeah,
it's just stairs. You do them every day, but when you do, I don't even know what the equivalency was, but a lot. Yeah, I don't even. I was playing like I was going to count how many stairs it was, and then by the time we got to the sandbags, and we were zigzagging up and down, I'm like, oh, forget this, because it was hundreds.
It was just kind of getting lost, just knowing what direction to go. Like you had to like figure out like which row to go, because it wasn't just working our way up. We were like up a little, then going back down, then going up a little, then going back down. It was literally like Tetris cubes.
Oh yeah,
we were making.
Yeah, no, and it was funny that when Joe was with us, and we were in the slow lane. Stay one lane, and the fast people went to the left or the right. It's kind of like a highway. You pass on the left, stay slow on the right.
Yeah.
No, it was an experience. I'm grateful that you were a part of it. Regardless, I was just the filming was icing on the cake, and you are unbelievably talented. By the way, the sunrise. I mean, you were just using GoPros like what we have in the studio now. You were just using GoPro little cameras, and the way you were able to capture, just everything. Like watching that sunrise, panoramic, kind of all around the stadium and everything. Stuff you caught was really spot on. It was just really cool. So I'm glad that you volunteered. That was thinking back to that, recording the podcast with him here, and at the end of it, you're like, I'll do it. It didn't even really need to ask. It was just kind of like you were just there. It was awesome. So, and that. In shape, out of shape, any shape, like just to commit to doing that is like, it was huge. Like it meant all the world to me, because then other people were invested in it, right?
Yeah.
If it was just me, I may or may not have gone. If it was just me, and it was cold out, or it was going to rain or whatever, I probably wouldn't have done it. But because I knew there were other people that were going to be at the start line with me, it was like, you had to do it, right? So it was pretty cool. So, like I say, we helped fly some active military home for the holidays, which was pretty darn cool. When you think about having fun, getting uncomfortable, and then also raising money for a good charity. So I'm just looking forward to the episode, his episode coming out, because it's been a number of months, but I've watched and listened to his episodes since our recording, and I mean, he cans up like he probably does 4 to 8 episodes a week that he records.
Like some of the stuff that we saw him recording around the park.
Oh yeah,
like I've only seen 2 videos of what he recorded, and those 2 videos, like one might have came out like right after Fenway, but then like a few weeks later, another video that he took at Fenway came out. So he's there, like his team is really just transforming what's coming out. What's like, I don't know if they have like what topics to hit, but like he just.
Well, I mean, and like I say, they were in Abu Dhabi this week for a race, and there was content that was solid that they wanted to put out there right away, and so everything's got a pecking order, and things get priority. But yeah, I think it's interesting that he actually recorded. So he did the race just like anybody else would.
Yep.
While recording content, a lot of it, and still caught up to us on the ramps and did the last, quarter of the race with us. That says a lot about the guy, that he believes it, but he also practices it, right? He's, it'd be one thing to be a CEO of something, of anything, and not be a practitioner, right? I think a lot of CEOs probably are. I think a lot of CEOs go into companies for the fortune, right? And don't even buy into what their whole mission is. I can remember a CEO doing a kickoff company thing and didn't even copy and paste right. And he said it was a nobile mission, not a noble mission, as to why he chose the job. He didn't even proofread his presentation to the team. It wasn't even that important. And, last I checked, the definition of a nobile, something nobile is a crater on the moon. But he's a practitioner. He gets up every day, does burpees, runs marathons, runs races, gets into the thick of things, and then creates content and catches up to us.
Yeah.
Which was wild.
Yeah, like we saw him like different spots. Just like coming up, and there was like still stuff going on too, so it's not like he does his race and then that's it. Like, he's still doing it with them. And some of his like his crew that was not just the social content, but like the crew that was like getting us up, like they had walkie-talkies, they had everything up like they were in the military, like to get the event going on.
Oh yeah. So the interesting things with Joe that I thought was really cool, he thanked everybody. Like he thanked everyone, like everyone that worked there, whether they were Red Sox employees or his employees, he was thanking everybody. And what was really cool was when he was walking with us and I was talking to him and asking him, all sorts of questions, the runners that were going by that were thanking him. And
for bringing the race, doing the race.
That was really cool. Like that's like they're bought in. They're wholly vested. Like these races are $150. You literally pay $150 to get abused physically by doing this event. You get a medal, you get a t-shirt, you can say you did, but you pay $150. And people pay this money willingly, happily, gladly, and then thank the CEO and founder for putting it on. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it was, he ran the race while running his business at the same time.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. Like that was something to like, again, there were 15,000 runners that weekend that each paid. I mean, you do the math, 15,000 runners paying $150 a person, that just about all of them had a Spartan something on. I got a pair of Spartan sneakers on. Like I've bought into it, with their merchandise and everything else. And it's good merchandise, good products. But vendors, he had all aspects of the military, first responders, sports drinks, nutrition supplements, all these people set up, spaces in the park. He made a point to talk to them.
Yeah.
He was out on was it Yawkey Way? I don't even know what road that were. It wasn't Yawkey Way. Whatever the road was, that they had their own merchandise card. He's out there talking to people. Like he was everywhere. He actually went after he did the race with us. He went to the local gym.
Oh yeah, I did see that video.
Went to the local gym and invited all the people working out to go run the race at Fenway for free. That's pretty cool stuff. Like he's built a fanatical following by driving people to come for free. Like I would have never, if I was at home, I don't know that I'd pay $150 to do it. Right. I don't know that I'd get motivated to, but now I just ran the race technically for free. We raised money. We did the equivalent of the money owed or whatever. But now I'm sitting here wearing shoes and shirts and doing all this stuff, telling everybody how great it is. Right. He's figured it out. He's got a formula. Give him a taste, and they'll want more. And it was pretty cool. And in Fenway Park, I mean, what better place to have a race like that for your first time than a historic? What do we decide? It was 112 years old, Fenway Park.
Yeah,
1912. And we came up with that, and I came up with a number because it was 100 years in 2012. That the Chicago Cubs played the Boston Red Sox, and I was at the game. They hadn't played there in 100 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's where, and I said that, and Bobby's like, no. And then I think you looked it up or something, but yeah, 112-year-old stadium still has it. So it was pretty cool. But so we've run the race. It's happened. Raised some money. We had some great participants. we had Chris Martinetti, who was on the podcast, talking about it and was getting put together the week before, broke his leg or his foot. And so he was out, but I'm going to hold him to next year. And Kenny Wirtz ran the race with his son, Alex. Ed Rossich came out from California. Mike Amador, Nick Grubb, Bobby Chavez, Adam Carreiro, one of Chris's friends, his name is escaping me. I didn't meet him. He passed us.
Oh, yes.
He actually did register.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody that ran it, right?
Yep.
Yep. So thank you to all of you that showed up to run it. Thank you to all the people that supported, made donations for the cause. I know that it went a long way, and we're going to look forward to doing the next one.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Well, appreciate you being the Spartan Update guest. This is always nice when I get to have you on. We've got some exciting stuff happening in the next couple months. We're going to have a lot more podcasts. Truth be told, travel schedule has been nuts. I was gone from September, basically from I'll call it the beginning of September, from like September 10th to till November 9th. I think I was only home like 6 days. So it wasn't a lack of wanting to be in here. We just didn't have any time to do it. But my travel schedule, we're keeping a little bit light for the next couple months, finishing up the book March 13th, 2025. Go to BeAuSm.com, BeAuSm.com, and enter your email for notification for pre-orders. And we're doing bulk order. If you're having an event and you want to have everybody get a copy of the book, we can do that too. Just send Josh at BeAuSm.com an email. We'd love to provide all of your attendees for an event. And we're even working on deals for speaking and book purchases. So stay tuned, and we will keep you updated on everything. We got more podcasts to release. And in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day, Adam. Thanks for coming on here.
Yeah.
To you from underneath a peach blossom, it's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work, just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.